Imagine two investors buy the exact same ETF. They invest the same amount of money on the same day at the same price. One investor buys it inside a Roth IRA, the other buys it inside a taxable brokerage account. The investment itself is identical, but what happens to the dividends, what happens when they sell, and when they can easily access the money can be very different. That is because a Roth IRA and a taxable brokerage account are not actually investments. Think of them as containers. Inside either container, you might own stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, bonds, or other investments. The biggest difference is how the government treats the money inside that container. So in this video, we're going to look at what a Roth IRA is, what a taxable brokerage account is, the advantages and disadvantages of each, and why the right answer for many investors may actually be to use both. Let's start with the Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account designed to provide tax advantages for retirement investing. Money contributed to a Roth IRA generally goes in after you've already paid income taxes on it. You don't normally receive a tax deduction for making the contribution. But in exchange, investments inside the Roth IRA can grow without generating annual taxes for you, and qualified withdrawals in retirement can be completely tax-free. That can become extremely powerful over several decades. Imagine owning a dividend ETF inside your Roth IRA. The ETF pays dividends, you reinvest those dividends, your number of shares grows. Those new shares potentially generate additional dividends. And you can continue that process for decades without receiving a tax bill every year just because the ETF distributed dividends. There are limits, however. For 2026, the combined annual contribution limit across your traditional and Roth IRAs is $7,500 if you're under age 50. Investors age 50 and older can contribute an additional $1,100, bringing the potential total to $8,600. There are also income restrictions. For 2026, Roth IRA contribution eligibility begins phasing out between $153,000 and $168,000 of modified adjusted gross income for single filers and heads of household, and between $242,000 and $252,000 for married couples filing jointly. So unlike a regular brokerage account, you can't necessarily put as much money as you want into a Roth IRA. This is also where Roth IRAs can get confusing. People sometimes hear retirement account and assume every dollar is completely locked away until age 59 and a half. That's not quite how a Roth IRA works. Roth IRA contributions receive favorable withdrawal treatment. Under the Roth ordering rules, contributions come out before earnings, and those regular contributions have already been taxed. The earnings are where you need to be more careful. For a Roth IRA distribution of earnings to generally be considered qualified and completely tax-free, requirements including the 5-year rule and an eligible distribution event, commonly reaching age 59 and a half, must be satisfied. Non-qualified earnings distributions can potentially result in income taxes and an additional 10% tax unless an exception applies. So a Roth IRA has more flexibility than some people realize, but it should still primarily be viewed as a retirement account. Now let's look at the taxable brokerage account. You might open one through a company such as Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, or another brokerage. Like the Roth IRA, you can use the account to purchase investments such as stocks and ETFs. But there isn't an IRA-style annual contribution limit. Want to invest $1,000? You can. Want to invest $20,000? You can. There also isn't a Roth IRA-style income restriction determining whether you're allowed to contribute. And perhaps the biggest advantage is accessibility. If you sell an investment and want to withdraw your money, there isn't an IRA early withdrawal penalty simply because you're only 40 years old. That makes a taxable brokerage account particularly interesting for goals that occur before traditional retirement age. The trade-off is right in the name: it's taxable. Suppose you buy an ETF for $10,000 and eventually sell it for $15,000. Ignoring other adjustments, you've created a $5,000 capital gain. If you held the investment for more than 1 year, it's generally considered a long-term capital gain. If you held it for 1 year or less, it's generally short-term. Short-term net capital gains are generally taxed at ordinary income tax rates, while long-term capital gains may receive lower tax rates depending on your income. Dividends can also create taxable income. Some dividends are classified as qualified dividends and may receive the lower capital gains tax rates, while ordinary dividends are generally taxed as ordinary income. And here's something particularly important for dividend investors: turning on DRIP does not make a dividend tax-free. If you receive a taxable dividend and automatically reinvest it into additional shares, you generally still have dividend income to report. You're simply using that dividend to purchase more shares instead of receiving the cash in your bank account. So let's put these accounts head to head. The biggest advantage of the Roth IRA is taxes. Your investments can compound inside the account without creating the same annual tax consequences you might experience in a taxable account, and qualified withdrawals can eventually be tax-free. That can make a Roth especially attractive for investments you expect to hold for decades. There are also no required minimum distributions for the original Roth IRA owner during their lifetime. But there are disadvantages. Contribution limits restrict how much you can put into the account each year. Higher income investors may have restrictions on direct contributions. And because it's designed for retirement, accessing investment earnings early can be more complicated. Now look at the taxable brokerage account. There's much more flexibility. There isn't the same annual contribution ceiling. You can access your money whenever you want. And taxable accounts actually have some tax planning opportunities of their own. For example, investment losses can potentially offset capital gains. If total capital losses exceed capital gains, current federal rules may allow up to $3,000 of the excess net capital loss to reduce other income, with additional unused losses generally carried forward. The disadvantage is that dividends and realized gains can generate taxes along the way. That creates what investors sometimes call tax drag, because some of the money that could otherwise remain invested is instead going toward taxes. And this brings us to the big question. Should you invest through a Roth IRA or through a taxable brokerage account? The answer depends heavily on what the money is for. If you're investing specifically for retirement, you're eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA and you don't expect to need the money for many years, the Roth's tax advantages can be extremely valuable. But suppose you're investing for something before retirement. Maybe you hope to retire early. Maybe you're building wealth that you want available at age 45, 50, or 55. Or maybe you've already maxed out your available tax-advantaged accounts and still have additional money to invest. A taxable brokerage account can be extremely useful because it doesn't have the same contribution or withdrawal restrictions. And this is why Roth IRA versus brokerage account doesn't necessarily need to be an either-or decision. Someone could build a Roth IRA for long-term tax-free retirement income while simultaneously building a taxable brokerage account for flexibility and earlier access to their investments. You could even own many of the same ETFs in both accounts. The investment hasn't changed. What has changed is the container surrounding it. And understanding that difference can help you decide not only what to invest in, but also where to invest it. Thank you for watching. Comment below and let me know whether you're currently investing through a Roth IRA, a taxable brokerage account, or both. And subscribe for more beginner-friendly investing content.